My name's Andrew. I'm 48. When I married Carol, her daughter Maddie was already a teenager, barely 15, but she carried herself like the house owed her rent. She was tall, sharp-featured, with sarcasm as a second language and silence as a first. No small talk, no gratitude, no glances longer than a second. She made sure I knew this wasn't my home. I was a guest. Temporary. Tolerated. Carol said they needed someone stable. That's the word she used, stable, like I was a piece of furniture. She'd whisper it when things got hard. Maddie needs stability. Not love. Not a father. Just something that didn't wobble when leaned on. So I became that. Solid. Predictable. I moved into their small house outside Tacoma. Not for the views, not for the job market, but because Carol said it would help. And when you're a man like me, raised to fix rather than feel, you take that kind of help as gospel. You say yes. You pay bills. You wait for respect like it's a fruit that ripens slow. I learned quickly what I was. The man who reset the router. Who checked the oil. Who remembered flu shots and school schedules. Not a dad. Not a husband in the full sense. Just Andrew. A handyman with a MasterCard. Then one night, I passed Maddie's door. She was on the phone. Whispering. Laughing. He's just a walking expense, she said. The friend on the line laughed too. That laugh gutted me. I walked downstairs. Sat in the dark kitchen for an hour. Then I stood up, unplugged the router, changed all the passwords, canceled Spotify, Netflix, and every shared account. Let her figure out that playlists don't play when the card declines. That FaceTime freezes without Wi-Fi. That night, it wasn't just her screen that stopped moving. Our entire relationship did too. No one asked why. Not Carol. Not Maddie. Not even me. I kept going. Kept paying. Orthodontist bills. Retainer replacements. Emergency texts from school. One time, I drove 3 hours because Maddie forgot her volleyball gear. No thank you. Just a grunt and slammed car door. I once heard her call me Andrew to her friend. Yeah, Andrew picked me up. Carol's husband. Not my stepdad. Not even my mom's husband. Just a name. Like the Amazon driver. Still, I told myself she was young. That respect doesn't show up like a package. It's earned over time. But time came. And went. When Maddie lost her retainer and cried like her world had collapsed. It was me who left work early. Drove across town. Paid cash for the new mold. Carol texted, "You're amazing." Maddie said nothing. When her school raised lunch prices and the automatic payments bounced, it was my card that got added to the account. Not because anyone asked. Just because I saw the overdue email. No one noticed. When she needed a laptop upgrade, I researched specs, compared warranties, spent hours making sure it was fast enough for whatever she did after slamming her door shut every night. I left it on her bed with a sticky note. Hope this helps. She peeled it off. Never said a word. I was building something. Not a house. Not a bond. Just a silent structure. Something invisible. Something no one looks at until it breaks. Maddie never called me dad. That's fine. I never asked her to. But every time she said Andrew with that tone. Sharp. Dismissive. I felt like a stranger handing out gifts at a party I wasn't invited to. Carol didn't help. She'd smile and say, "Teenagers are tough." She'd shrug when Maddie ignored me at dinner. She never told her daughter, "That man pays for your life." Maybe she was afraid of seeming ungrateful. Or maybe she was too. I remember the day I stopped fixing things. The sink dripped for 4 days before anyone noticed. The porch light burned out and stayed out. The thermostat blinked an error code I didn't bother reading. Maddie walked around all of it like nothing had changed. Carol did too. Until the Wi-Fi went out. Then suddenly I existed again. "Andrew, what's the password? Andrew, did you change something? Andrew, we can't stream anything. Can you fix it?" No one asked why. They just expected service to resume. Like I was a subscription. Monthly payment. Instant access. I looked at my bank statements one night. Calculated the totals. Maddie's dental work, $3,200. School fees, $2,870. Groceries, clothing, gas, forgotten birthday gifts, easily $10,000 over 3 years. And what had I received in return? A few half-smiles. A mug that said #1 stepdad that Carol bought on a whim and Maddie never saw. A chair at a dinner table where my silence was the only thing that kept the peace. I started keeping receipts. Not for taxes. For memory. Because I knew, one day, someone would act shocked when I stopped. And I'd need to remember that I was never seen. Only used. There's a moment in every man's life where he realizes he's not building a family. He's just patching holes in someone else's wreckage. That moment came the day I overheard Maddie say it again. This time to Carol. I don't know why you married him. He's boring. He's just there. Just there. Like furniture. Like rent. Carol didn't correct her. Didn't defend me. She said, he helps. Helps. Like I was a favor. That night, I took down the framed photo in the hallway. The one with all three of us from that fake summer trip to Cannon Beach. Maddie had smiled in that photo. So had I. But when I looked closer, I realized something. I was always standing just a little off to the side. It hit me harder than I expected. That even in our happiest picture, I didn't belong. I poured myself a drink. Sat in the garage. Listened to the water heater rumble like an old engine. It was due for a service. I didn't schedule it. Let it fail. Let the cold water speak louder than I ever could. Because I finally understood. I wasn't part of this family. I was just the subscription. And they were overdue. It started with a text. Carol was smiling when she read it. Smiling like she hadn't in years. I asked what was funny. Blake's in town, she said. Like it was a casual thing. Like she hadn't cried in my arms the night he ghosted her for good. He wants to see Maddie. Just dinner. I nodded. Said nothing. I'd learned to keep quiet around ghosts. Dinner turned into a concert. Then a weekend. Then the smell of his cologne in the hallway. The first time I saw him, he was leaning against my fridge. My fridge. Shoes still on, beer in hand. Comfortable in a home he hadn't paid a cent toward. Carol made lasagna. Maddie laughed like she was 9 again. No one introduced us. I came home from work 2 days later and found boxes in the hallway. What's this? I asked. Carol didn't look up from her phone. Blake's staying for a bit, she said. Like she was reading off a grocery list. For a bit. Just until he figures some things out. Maddie stepped into the doorway. She was smiling, but it wasn't joy. It was something else. Victory. She looked me dead in the eyes. He's more welcome here than you ever were. That sentence didn't come from nowhere. It had roots. Old roots. And no one corrected her. Not Carol. Not Blake. Not even the walls that had heard me fix their pipes and keep their heat running. I didn't yell. Didn't throw a chair. I packed my bag. Quietly. Shirt. Tools. Socks. Every receipt I had kept like confessions in a folder. I left them on the kitchen counter. Canceled autopay. Shut off every card that had their names attached. The router went down that night. The alarm system reset. The trash piled. I left a note. Simple. Honest. Let him fix the water heater. Pay the gas bill. Handle the router. Week 1, silence. Week 2, the cracks. Hey, do you remember the alarm code? Wi-Fi's down. Who's the provider again? Netflix says card declined. Is it a mistake? I read the texts but didn't respond. Then Maddie sent one more. You won. Happy now? No. Winning implies there was a game. This wasn't a game. It was a slow unraveling. A rope pulled for years until all that remained were frayed strands and calloused hands. I didn't gloat. I didn't explain. I had given them every tool, every comfort, every bit of structure a home needs. And in the end, they picked a ghost. The man who left them. Because he brought stories. Excitement. That old romantic pain Carol never stopped nursing. Blake had charm. He also had debt. A suspended license. A trail of unpaid rent across 2 states. But none of that mattered. Because he wasn't me. He wasn't boring. The night I left, I moved into a month-to-month apartment near the water. Small, quiet, clean. A single couch. A second-hand kettle. Nothing fancy, just mine. For the first time in years, I slept without clenching my jaw. Woke up to silence, not slammed doors or cold shoulders. Carol didn't call. Not once. But Maddie did. At first it was sarcastic. I hope the router's still working for you. Then passive. Did you cancel my Spotify too? Whatever. Then quieter. Mom's tired. He hasn't helped with anything. Then finally just 3 words. I miss stability. I almost replied. Almost. But silence was the only currency I had left. And I wasn't about to spend it on people who only missed me when the lights went out. Week 3, Carol called. Late. I let it ring. She tried again. This time I answered. Andrew, she said. Her voice was cracked at the edges. He left. I stayed quiet. He said he was getting groceries. That was 4 days ago. He's gone. Maddie's a wreck. Her grades are. She caught herself. We thought you were still paying for everything. Still. Even after I walked out, they thought I was paying. Still. I didn't scream. Didn't remind her who had paid the deposit on the house, the hospital bills, the orthodontist, the new tires, the school lunches. Didn't ask her why she let Maddie speak to me like furniture. I just said, I have a new life now, with people who are glad I'm in it. And hung up. I meant it. I joined a local gym. Volunteered at the hardware store on weekends. There was a woman named Lauren. Lived 2 doors down. Divorced. 2 girls. They asked me to fix a swing in their backyard. I did. No strings. One day, over dinner, Lauren said, They call you Dad now, just so you know. I didn't cry, but something inside me let go. Maddie sent a photo weeks later. She was standing at a college tour I'd paid for. Her caption, Thanks for everything. I stared at it for a while. Didn't respond. She sent a check. $100. No note. I didn't cash it. Kept it in a drawer. Because that scrap of paper meant more than every insult she'd hurled. It meant she finally understood. You don't feel the beam until it breaks. You don't thank the floor until you fall through it. Carol sent one message. Just 4 words. I failed you. Sorry. I didn't reply. Because failure doesn't vanish with 4 words. Because silence now was the only language I trusted. They had a chance to hold onto something solid. They let go. They chose noise, chaos, charm. And in the end, when the house grew cold, when the bills arrived, when the router blinked red, they remembered the man who stayed. But by then I was gone. Not out of spite. Out of clarity. Because healing can't begin in a house where you're still paying rent on pain. Tell me, would you have stayed? Would you have paid for the people who handed you a receipt instead of respect? Or would you have walked, like I did, into the quiet? A month passed. Maybe more. I stopped counting. You lose track of days when no one's asking you for anything. Then Carol called. Middle of a Wednesday. Her name blinked on my phone like a warning light. I let it ring once, twice, then picked up. Andrew, she said. Not babe, not honey. Just my name. Voice hollow. He left, she said. Again. Silence on my end. I waited. Let her earn the right to speak more. Said he was getting groceries. Took the car. That was 6 days ago. The account's empty. My card got declined. Maddie's grades are slipping. Her teachers are emailing me. She can't focus. She's crying more. She paused. We thought you were still covering the tuition. I said nothing. She kept going. I didn't know he emptied the savings until it was gone. He took the rent money. I had to borrow from my sister just to keep the lights on. I remembered that account. The one I used to refill monthly, quietly, automatically, like a faucet. They never asked. They just drank. You always paid things, she said. We never had to worry. She stopped herself. Realized what she was saying. What do you want, Carol? I asked. Calm. Cold. Help. Just help. Until I figure things out. I figured things out. I said. I left. Click. I sat in the quiet. Outside. Gulls circled the water. Kids laughed a few yards down. A couple grilled hot dogs on their porch. Ordinary sounds. Peaceful. Not like my old house. Not like the yelling, the slammed doors, the quiet digs passed like salt at dinner. A day later, Maddie messaged me. "Are you okay?" I didn't answer. The next day, "Mom's a mess. He stole everything." And later, "I'm sorry." 2 weeks passed. She sent a photo, a snapshot from that college visit I had paid for. She was smiling. Caption: "Thank you. I didn't get to say it before." Still, I didn't reply, because time doesn't rewind, and memory doesn't erase neglect. It records it. I kept the photo, saved it in a folder labeled Silent Proof. A week later, an envelope arrived. No return address. Inside, a personal check. $100. No note. No signature except her name at the bottom. Maddie. I didn't cash it. Pinned it to the inside of my drawer. Not for the money, for what it meant. Someone had finally understood. Not love, not respect, but cost. Carol sent one more message. For words. "I failed you. Sorry." That was it. No explanation. No plea. Just an admission too late to be useful. I didn't respond, because when I stood in the freezing rain to jump Maddie's car battery, no one said thank you. Because when I covered that bill for her sprained wrist, no one said we couldn't have done it without you. Because when Blake walked in and I walked out, no one stopped me. They had all stood still while I packed my life into a duffel. Now they wanted to unspool it. But the thread was gone. The silence that followed became its own kind of closure. No more messages. No more calls. Carol went back to her maiden name on social media. Maddie's profile picture changed from the three of us to her and her friends at graduation. I wasn't tagged in a single post, but the tuition stopped. The streaming accounts stayed down. The car repairs no longer handled themselves. The trash cans didn't roll to the curb unless someone remembered. I wasn't there to carry them anymore. Lauren, my neighbor, brought over dinner one night. Her daughters, Emma and Jenna, helped me string lights on the porch. "They like you," she said. "Emma calls you porch dad." I laughed. Not bitter, not hollow, real. Because I wasn't auditioning anymore. I wasn't paying to be tolerated. I was simply being. One evening, Lauren found me sitting on the back steps. "Thinking about them?" she asked. I nodded. "I gave everything," I said. "And they called you nothing," she replied. I looked at her. She met my gaze. No pity. No sympathy, just understanding. "You know what hurts most?" I said. "It's not the money, not the work. It's how quiet they made me, how small. I spent years walking on eggshells in a house where I bought the floor. Years giving love that had to be filtered through their mother to be recognized." Lauren reached over and placed her hand on mine. "You're not small anymore." And she was right. Because I was done measuring my worth through other people's silence. A month later, Maddie sent a letter. Handwritten. Pages long. She told me she missed the way I used to leave snacks in her backpack. The way I checked her tire pressure. The way I never forgot her birthday. She said she wished she'd called me dad. Even once. Said she was angry at Blake, at Carol, at herself. She ended it with, "I get it now. You were never just there. You were holding everything up. And I let you fall." I folded the letter and stored it next to the uncashed check. Still didn't reply. Because regret isn't payment. It's just proof of a debt too late to be collected. Carol tried one more time. Called during the holidays. Left a voicemail. "Maddie's home. We decorated the tree. She talked about you. I think she wants to see you. No pressure. I just thought you should know." I didn't call back. Not because I hated them, but because some doors stay closed even when unlocked. They had me. They tested me. Then they watched me leave. Now they sit in the silence I left behind. And maybe that's justice. Not revenge. Not punishment. Just the absence of the thing they refused to acknowledge. Maddie will graduate. She'll get a job. Maybe she'll marry. Maybe she'll have kids. And maybe one day she'll look at a man who fixes her roof or pays her child's school fees and think, "God, he reminds me of Andrew." Maybe she'll get it then. But I won't be around to confirm it. Because I'm done being the invisible man holding up a house that calls him wait. So I ask you, Is it wrong to leave when you're only loved for your labor? When your only value is the silence of your compliance? Would you have stayed? Would you have cashed the check? Or would you have done what I did? Walked away without slamming the door? Because sometimes, collapse isn't loud. It's just the sound of a man refusing to carry what was never his to begin with. It's been over a year since I left. You'd think memories fade with time. They don't. They calcify, grow sharp, cut in new places. The memory of that hallway, the one where Blake stood with his hands in his pockets while Maddie declared me unwelcome, still lives in me. Not as a wound, but a lesson. I replayed that moment 1,000 times. Not to change it, but to remind myself what truth sounds like when it's spoken without shame. He's more welcome here than you ever were. That was the sentence that broke the dam. That's what turned silence from survival into weapon. And when I finally left, I didn't leave like a man kicked out. I left like a man stepping out of a burning building. Let them sort through the ashes. In my new neighborhood, people know my name. The girls next door, Emma and Jenna, draw me pictures, tape them to my door. One of them drew me with a cape. Wrote "Fix It Hero" in pink marker. They don't know about Maddie, about Carol. They don't need to. They just know that I show up. Lauren, quiet, strong Lauren, sits with me on the porch some evenings. We don't talk about our pasts. We plant herbs, fix old things, drink coffee that actually stays warm because no one's yelling in the background. She told me one night, after Jenna scraped her knee and came crying into the house, "They call you Dad sometimes, when they think I'm not listening." I didn't cry, but something in me melted. Not from the word, from the lack of expectation behind it. I wasn't earning it. I wasn't being tested. I was just present. No transaction. No scorekeeping. And that's when I knew I had found the kind of family that grows quietly like ivy, not fire. I heard from Carol only once more. An email. Subject line. Closure? Body. I know I failed you. I let Maddie believe you were just an extra. I let Blake come back and didn't defend you. And now I see what it cost us. Not just the bills. You. Maddie says she wants to write you again. She said if she ever has a daughter, she'll name her after you. Andrewa. She's trying in her way. If you ever want to talk, I'll be here. I didn't respond, because some apologies are maps to roads you no longer walk. And I don't miss Maddie. I miss the version of her I hoped would exist. The one who'd see what I gave, who'd hear my quiet love in every tire change, every late-night trip to the pharmacy. But hope, like generosity, has limits. The final time I saw Carol was by accident. Grocery store. She was thinner, tired. We locked eyes by the frozen vegetables. She opened her mouth. I shook my head. Not in anger, in peace. I didn't need a reunion. I had already buried that version of myself. The man who begged for respect, who paid for love like it was a subscription he couldn't cancel, who lived as a ghost in his own home. That man died the night I walked away. I'm different now. My house is small but quiet. My bills are fewer. My sleep is deep. I built a bookshelf last week. Took my time. Sanded each edge. When I finished, I stared at it for a long time. Not because it was perfect. Because it stood. No gaps. No missing screws. No wobble. It didn't owe anyone anything. And it didn't ask for thanks. Just like me. Sometimes, Emma and Jenna fall asleep on my couch. I carry them to their room. Tuck them in. No one claps. No one notices. And that's the point. Because this time, I'm not investing in people who see me as convenient. I'm showing up for those who would notice if I stopped. One night, Lauren turned to me and said, "You're the first man who ever made this house feel safe." I smiled. Not because I needed the praise, but because she didn't whisper it like a favor owed. It was just truth, given freely, like I used to give everything. But here's the difference. Now the giving is mutual. I fix her fence. She folds my laundry. I help with math homework. She brings me tea before bed. Small things. Unseen, uncelebrated, but real. No ghosts. No balance sheets. Just a home. So here's what I've learned. You can give everything and still be invisible. You can feed a family and still be left hungry. You can carry the roof over their heads and still sleep in the emotional basement. And when you finally walk away, they won't hear your footsteps, just the silence that follows. And that silence will echo louder than any slammed door. Because money can be replaced. Meals can be made. But the man who kept the house from collapsing, when he's gone, they feel it. In the broken pipes. In the unpaid bills. In the cold that creeps through the floorboards he once kept warm. They feel it. But they don't admit it. Because admitting it means he mattered. And that's the one truth they can't afford. So I ask you, now that you've heard all of it, was I cruel? Was I heartless for stepping away? Or did I simply stop building a home for people who never planned to live in it with me? Would you have stayed? Would you have kept paying for the privilege of being forgotten? Or would you have done what I did, and let the silence be the final word?